Blog Talk Radio.
It's your world, I just live in it.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Welcome to the Free Speech Zone, Feldman World Review. This is the Jewboy here. We do our Feldman World Review every Sunday morning and Wednesday evenings here on blogtalkradio.com. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. It's June the 15th, 2014, and just, you know, a really great Father's Day out to all the fathers out there. And, you know, it's, you know, these are rough days right now. A lot of crazy things going on. It's been a very interesting time especially since the Bergdahl trade, but really it just goes back. There's just so much happening. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. We got a chat room here on the web page. If you're at the Feldman World Review web page listening, got a chat room down there. You can jump right in and make comments, talk to people that are in the chat room, and you can also phones will be open in a little bit. 347-202-0433. Like to hear from you. You could wish your father a happy Father's Day, or you could comment on the things that are going on. And boy, there's just so many things going on. I can't believe it. I mean, you know, as far as like motivating people to do kidnapping, you know, it appears Benjamin Netanyahu now has accused Hamas of kidnapping the 3 Israeli kids, and they're making arrests and they're chasing them around. But it's just some really crummy days going on right now, and just all kinds of crazy stuff happening. Oh, you know what time it is, folks? It's time for the Feldman World Reviews, the Jokes on Us Joke of the Day. And today's The Jokes on Us Joke of the Day is brought to us by not simply Lois Lerner, but the entire IRS. The IRS says that it's lost key Lerner emails. Now, the agency blames a 2011 hard drive crash for the data loss. But we all saw, folks, her for our eyes when she was pleading the fifth during those hearings, that they said they had the emails and that they were prepared to turn them over. From this article here in the Washington Times, it says the IRS has told Congress that it has lost some of the former employee Lois G. Lerner's emails from 2009 to 2011. Now, listen, folks, is that convenient? First of all, is it believable? Is that convenient? But, you know, this administration continues to consider us a nuisance in the way of their agenda, and they continue to just treat us like fools and idiots, and that's why this is the Feldman World Review's Joke of the Day. It didn't happen today, but this is some crazy story. You know, it's stunning. It's stunning what kind of lies, what kind of deceptions, what kind of trickery this administration will do. Obama, Holder, all the agency heads, his secret shadow government known as the czars and his little organizations that, unlike the cabinet, didn't have to go through any type of vetting by anybody else but him and Valerie Jarrett. So, you know, this is just a continuing saga of this administration, you know. 2009, 2011, and I was pounding this point for a long time because I think this is one of the most egregious of all the Obama scandals, is the IRS FEC collusion. Democrat candidates, the Democrat National Committee, Democrats got information about Republicans and about conservatives and conservative groups from the IRS, you know, through their contacts at the FEC and through other people in the campaigns, the Democrat campaigns, and they tied the money up of the conservative and pro-Israel groups for those 2 years So we could not perform the way we needed to perform going into that 2011 vote. So I say they stole the election because they tied up the money. That stopped radio ads. That stopped grassroots rallies and meetings all across the United States. That what the IRS, what Lois Lerner was part of, was one of the biggest atrocities, one of the biggest stomping on our Constitution that I can think I've ever seen in my lifetime. I'm astounded by it, and I think it's one of the worst of them. There's all kinds of foreign policy things, there's economic things, but, using agencies of the federal government to go after your enemies, very Nazi-esque. And so I consider it to be the most egregious of all the things that have gone on. And, and I want to thank everybody again, for tuning in. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a pleasure. It's great seeing the people that post and make comments. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, I can't even, if I start naming names, I'll have to name everybody's name. I'd be like one of those. But I really want to thank everybody that's been tuning in since the beginning. Norman, I got to say some names. Norman, Marcia, Vicky. I've had a lot of friends out there. I've got some new friends, Anita. Different, just all the different people that keep posting on the site. They keep responding and coming. James Rayner, Mickey Finn, Robert, you know who you are. Merrill Feldman, not related Feldman. I just want to thank everybody. I just thought I'd take a minute there before I got to the Jewboy Journal. Today's Jewboy, they left the door open again. That's right. It's time for the Feldman World Review Dog of the Day, and this Dog of the Day here on this June 15th is Father's Day. This story I'm going to be reading from today's New York Sunday Post. And today's Dog of the Day is a whole bunch of people. And it's a whole bunch of unions, and it's a whole bunch of teachers. And I'm going to read one here. There was an investigation done here in New York City about some unions and how bad teachers have little fear of being disciplined. This really talks to all the teachers' unions and all of the unions and all of the teachers around the country. But they need to look back at themselves and think, because a lot of money's going into education, local, city, county, federal. And what are we getting? What are our kids getting? And what I see a lot of that money going to a lot of other things and never hitting the classroom with the kids, for the kids. But in this story, it talks about how these union contracts keep these people in their jobs no matter how egregious, how absurd their behavior. And I think it really leads to a lot of the bad things that are going on. I'm glad to see Common Core getting voted out all over the country. We do not need a centralized focus then. We need to put the strength back into the teachers. We even have to take it away. The teachers may need some protections, okay, against management in education. But the teachers shouldn't be considered over the students, because this is what it's about. But the power should go back to the teachers, how they handle their classrooms. Sometimes they come up with more creative and more effective programs and ways of teaching kids that works better than the federal government can't run Social Security. They can't run anything. They've proven over and over again their ineptitude, their inability, economically especially, to control and to manage anything. But in this article, they talk about some of these teachers that get protected, that these contracts, these union contracts, teachers who kiss students, ignore their classes, still kept their jobs. A post review of disciplinary reports reveals due to union rules, officials were able to fire less than 40% of the city's bad instructors. And I just want to talk about some of these teachers. Should I name names? Devin Black, a librarian at Castle Hill Middle School in the Bronx, he touched a 13-year-old girl and told her she looked sexy after being warned about making inappropriate comments to students. He got a 30-day suspension, not fired. Nancy Green Madia, English as a second language teacher. I'm taking this right out of the Post, folks. Manhattan Academy for Arts and Languages in Manhattan. She ran a chaotic classroom so loud that other teachers repeatedly checked in to make sure no one was getting hurt. Think about that. She got a 4-month suspension. She required some other classes, not fired. Nicole Marino Lieberman, Dean, Bronx Expedientiary Learning High School in the Bronx, failed to alert parents about a suicide note their son wrote in school until he cut his wrist and threatened to jump off a roof. What did she get? What was the disciplinary action for her? We know we talk about all these people that are shooting people, all of this mental illness, all this people didn't do anything, this, that, the other thing. They're always blaming the guns, the NRA. We know it's the parents. We know it's the mental illness profession. I couldn't get a word better than that to say. And we all know it's been in the schools. But here's a teacher, saw a suicide note, didn't alert anybody. She got a $700 fine. She wasn't fired. She has her tenure to think about. Her tenure, her retirement. Who's paying for this? Oh, we are. How about Joseph Palaio? And I'm sorry, folks. He's at the New Dorp High School in Staten Island. He cursed repeatedly in front of his class. That would have been me. That's probably why I'm not a teacher. And he called a student a spick. He got a $5,000 fine. Whew. But he wasn't fired. How about Raymond? He wasn't fired for calling this guy a spick, but they could take a business away from somebody that, I'm not defending any kind of racism and racist comments, but I am against the thought police. I am against anybody out there just being able to destroy somebody because of their thought. That's the thought police. And I'm saying the thought could be the worst in the world because even the haters have a right to think what they want, just like atheists. I don't believe that atheists should be stopped or brainwashed to think another way about God. Okay, Raymond Ramirez, teacher and girls swim coach at DeWitt Clinton High School, also in the Bronx, repeatedly touched and kissed girls, I guess probably when they were in their bathing suits, told one, "Notice your tan lines are quite dark," suggested to a girl that her teammates should trim her pubic hair, warned before not to comment on girls' weight and appearance. He wasn't fired. What did he get? He had a $5,000 fine, and he was required to take a workshop on sexual harassment. So today's dog of the day for the Feldman World Review are the teachers and the teachers' unions and the employees in the teachers in the schools all around the United States, not just in New York. And I'm sorry, folks, for naming your names, but I thought you deserved it. If these stories are true, it's outrageous to me that this continues. How about cheating while administering or grading Regents exams didn't amount to a fireable offense? Osman Abu Ghana, a teacher at Medgar Evers College Prep School in Brooklyn, erased and raised the scores of 5 students on the Regents physics exams in June 2011. His defense? It was scrubbing, and everybody did it. He claimed ignorance of a rule forbidding it. A hearing officer suspended Abaguna 1 semester and ordered him to bone up on testing and grading. Not fired. How about Howard Stifel? Found firing too harsh for Louis Vapato, a gym teacher at Francis Lewis High School in Queens, who repeatedly made offensive comments to his charges in 2010-2011. These Chinese students need to go back to their country. They don't belong here, teens quoted him as saying. 2 kids asked to be removed from the class. Stifel slapped him with a 60-day suspension. I mean, some of this stuff is just, it's unbelievable. Nobody's watching what's going on. They're my dog of the day nationally to everybody around here, and I know we all deal with this crap from all these crazy teachers and the teachers union. The kids are getting screwed. They're not being taught properly. They're our dog of the day. They need to be looked at. Common Core needs to be pushed out wherever it is. Now, folks, for today's Jewboy Journal. Today's Jewboy Journal is titled, "Maybe if the EPA saw the carbon footprint that ISIS is leaving all over Syria and Iraq, maybe our government would do something." Or, Obama has the same mad dream. But you guys don't worry. We're not going to worry about what ISIS is doing over there in Syria and Iraq. You want to know why we're not going to worry, folks? Because Iran is sending help. I'm looking at these articles today, and Hezbollah, which we all know is a wing, is a terrorist wing of the Iranian, Revolutionary Guard. They're there now to help. Hezbollah's there to help Syria, Assad's army, defend themselves against the jihadists. And, on top of everything else, the Quds, another military, paramilitary organization, is now in Iraq to help fight against ISIS. These are wonderful developments that I'm sure that John Kerry will try to take credit for, that he was in the background negotiate. Oh, maybe Putin did it. Maybe the EU did it. Because we're reduced, right, to just another seat at the EU now, aren't we? Isn't that what it is? Well, the U.S. seems to be standing by the Syrian rebels as they behead Assad's Syrian army. And the U.S. seems to be supporting the new unity government of the PLO, PLA, Al-Fatah, Hamas. They claimed Hamas wasn't involved, but let's face it, they're all involved together. They have been. As if that's a good thing. Okay? ISIS and Boko Haram are two examples of how words and deeds matter. Words and deeds matter. Because I think sometimes people don't realize that the things that administrations do and the words that are given and the pictures that are given and the actions taken have a big impact, especially on our enemies. Firstly, the Islamic revolutionaries we embolden by a series of steps by the Obama administration. His anti-American, pro-Islam speech in Cairo. This is followed by mistreating the Israeli prime minister and talking about 1967 borders. Then he has heavy support for the Muslim Brotherhood, finances and basically puts military support behind the Arab Spring, more like the Arab killing spree. Then he sends in NATO military support in Libya to get Gaddafi out, to put these Al-Qaedists in power. Then he starts running guns through Libya and through Jordan to Syria. And then Benghazi is the result of this ridiculous policy of arming rebels. You know, these ISIS jihadists are incredible. They're putting out what they're calling a Hollywood-style propaganda film on France 24, where they got these aerial shots and these spinning shots there. They're like, it's incredible. I mean, you know, it's like maybe Leni Riefenstahl, maybe they learned from Leni Riefenstahl how to put out these things. She was Hitler's propaganda filmmaker. Sorry, Hitler's filmmaker. And, you know, the result of all of this, ISIS is born. ISIS, former Al-Qaeda, former inside terrorists, former bombers, beheaders, killers. You know, what is ISIS? You know, now they're unmasked, right? Now they're completely unmasked. And we know who they are. You know, they want to build an Islamic State. They're like they're an executioner that is scaring people. They've stolen $425 million from Iraqi banks alone. They're now called the richest terrorist organization in the area. You know, they're probably stealing Iranian money. That's why the Iranis want to get the heck over there and slow them down a little bit. You know, they're beheading in the success of their horrifying violence as they post these videos up there, is that when they come into an area of Iraq, the Iraqi army's dropping its uniforms and weapons and running like hell because they don't want to put into a 6-foot hole and stoned to death for a video. And where's America in all this? Well, America, the Obama administration. Is there any question where they stand anymore about where they stand and what they've created? As Hillary's backpedaling in her pre-campaign campaign, trying to blame this on all the things Bush, all things Bush, all things Bush, all the time. Well, they've shown where they stand because for the past 2 years, Africa has seen these same style Islamists, Boko Haram and many others, and ones in Southeast Asia. You got Al-Shabaab, you got all these different groups all over the planet, raping, kidnapping, burning churches, killing Christians, in fact, any non-Muslim. Whether you're talking in Mali, Nigeria, Central African Republic, Sudan, Somalia, Tanzania, Libya. I've gone over this a million times. Thailand, Burma. Where aren't they? And these are all places that have been emboldened by money from the United States government, by weapons from the United States government, by words of support from the United States government, whether it was the Clinton State Department or the Kerry State Department, or it was Obama flying around. This administration didn't clarify their position until anti-Muslim violence sprang up in South Sudan. Then suddenly they were outraged. Suddenly Kerry is calling for wait, don't hurt those Muslims there. Meanwhile, for the last bunch of years, tens of thousands of people have been killed, murdered, raped. Churches have been burned all over the country. You see it all the time. And I'm going to interject something right now. Thank God for the Egyptian army. Thank God that guy just got elected president, the former leader of the Egyptian army, because without them, Egypt would have been in the same chaos that you see in Syria with the Muslim Brotherhood in charge. Or worse. You almost think that, that everybody talks about this stuff. Things were going on way before there was George W. Bush, folks. Anybody like myself that's been following the Middle East, following Israel, following the jihadists like I have for so many years, this has been going on for years. This transcends. How about going back to Jimmy Carter? France, who had protected the Ayatollah in Paris, where he was living in style, flies into Iran. Carter does nothing. We know what happened in Iran. The revolutionary college students that took our embassy. Ahmadinejad. Some of these other guys. It's incredible. Well, the war on terror continues, folks. No matter what they try to tell you who to blame it on. The war with terrorists, Islamists, is real. And no longer will Americans buy the notion that the Obama administration is not pro-Islam. Their policies have created worldwide firestorm, a world war for the reformation of an ancient caliphate. And I'm going to look at this. There's a story here by Amir Tahiri. He's got this map by his article. And I just want to read a couple of boxes in here about what's been going on lately. Europe. A recent report by Europol warned that it's not even Interpol anymore. Did we get thrown out of that too? It's just Europol. Okay. A recent report by Europol warned that citizens were being radicalized in Syria. In 2013, there were 152 terrorist attacks in Western Europe, including 63 in France, 33 in Spain, and the UK. This is since when did I say 2013? That's a long time ago. Mosul, Iraq. The Islamic State of Iraq and Syria has taken Iraq's third largest city and territory in both northern Iraq and Syria in hopes of creating an Islamic State. They have beheaded local officials and are marching toward Baghdad. Raqqa, Syria. ISIS is now consolidating power in Syria in hopes of unseating dictator Bashir al-Assad. This is all current, right? Kasserine, Tunisia. Al-Qaeda in northern Africa tried to kill government ministers early this month in revenge for the imprisonment of young men calling for Islamic law. Benghazi, Libya, our favorite place. The one of the big lies that they should all be on trial for. Islamic militia Ansar al-Sharia battles the government of Libya to introduce Sharia law across the nation. These are things that we've helped create, folks, all of them. Cairo, Egypt. The Muslim Brotherhood failed spectacularly when it tried to rule, but it still threatens the new government and actors of that group are still killing Christians, Coptic Christians, in the Alexandria area in Egypt today. Yemen. Yemen's government fights a constant battle against al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. Last week, militants plunged the whole country into darkness with an attack on power lines. How come we miss all these stories in the mainstream, huh? Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Mideast journalist Robert Fisk reports that Saudi Wahhabis are funding ISIS. The Saudis are funding ISIS, and the Wahhabis, in turn, get money from the royal family to protect and hold their power. Didn't he bow to the Saudi prince? Anyway, Karachi, Pakistan. Last Sunday, 35 people were killed by militants from the Pakistan Taliban at the Karachi airport. The Taliban has declared war on the government of Pakistan and has increased control over the northern part of the country. Now, I'd like to make a comment here, since I was just talking about Kabul, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. You know, the Taliban's trying to disrupt this weekend's presidential runoff as it's plotting a return to power after the U.S. pulls out in 2016. When you look at what's happening in Iraq, folks, do you think they're going to return to power when the United States pulls out in 2016? I do. This is some coincidence, isn't it, that we traded 5 of the worst actors ever in Gitmo for one deserter, and all these things are exploding around the world? Well, there's 2 more. Turkmenistan border. Jihadists under the name of Ansar al-Aya, victors of God, from Afghanistan, overrun posts in this country. This is Turkmenistan and Tajikistan to build bases. So they've gone into other countries there. And Tehran opposed the rise of the Sunni Caliphate in Iraq, mostly because they crave their own Sharia empire from Iran. So we see what's going on. We know what's going on. You know, the great coincidence is going on. And our administration has stood by and done nothing. One of the leaders, and I think there's probably more than one, but this guy's considered the main man in ISIS, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, which sounds kind of like Big Daddy. So maybe maybe they'll make a part for some guy named, Abu Bakr al-Big Daddy, and we'll get used to him. They'll put him on the Homeland, and we'll all get used to hearing his name. But he made a chilling boast. I'm sure a lot of you heard it. He said, "I'll see you in New York." Let me ask you something, folks. Why doesn't this administration take our enemies on face value? Now, Obama, I'm sure somebody else told him to do it, but a U.S. aircraft carrier is heading toward Iraq now. While Obama's considering his options, that's the title in this Newsmax story. How could he be considering his options when it's clear what these people want? Now, there's no difference between the PLO and Hamas and Al-Fatah, Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, Muslim Brotherhood, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram, ISIS. All these groups are saying the same thing. They're all saying that America and Israel must be destroyed. They're all saying that infidels must be killed and eliminated. They are all talking about returning to the great caliphate of the 8th century. They all want that. They say they want it. I'm not saying they want it. George Bush wasn't saying they want it when they hit the towers. We've got to wake up and be very alert on what's going on. I've been saying it for years. And the Obama administration, like I've said, whether Obama is a Muslim or not a Muslim, his policies have created this nightmare in the world. We need to vote him out in November 2014. We can't stand for any more of this, and we're certainly not going to accept a Hillary Clinton who helped make this happen. Have a great Father's Day and a beautiful Sunday. See you Wednesday night, 10 o'clock.
It's your world. I just live in it.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.